you're going to have that exact event and then some in the playoffs. You're going to lose a game in the playoffs, and those are such painful losses, and you have to be able to leave it in the locker room. Yeah, I thought we battled really, really hard in the game. I felt the same way about the New York Ranger game. We had a bad break that tied the game, and they won in a shootout. But we were right in a lot of ways. I thought that Boston game was very well played technically by both teams. You have two teams playing that hard, hitting that hard, with really good offensive players, and the shots are 21-21. It was well done. There were not a lot of mistakes. So now we just talk about what's the edge in the game, what's the penalty we can't take, what's the coverage we can't miss, right? Small details of winning, but I got no complaints about that game. It hurt, if possible, in a very good way.
And Aaron Ekblad looked like he was out there with fours laying.
Ready to roll. Yeah, he's ready to roll. We have a luxury right now, and we've earned it. We've got depth, so we don't have to squeeze a player into the lineup when he's not 100%, but we also have worked hard to have enough points that we can rest a guy, that we can get him back. So we think we have. With Barkov, certainly it took a while for that to heal, and now with Aaron back in. And we haven't won a lot of games since Aaron's been out, so he's a real important part of what we do.
You watch a lot more film than I do.
I bet.
Aaron Ekblad looked like he was missed at times.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt, because it wasn't a. There were three or four things that happened at the same time. One is we went on a real long run of really good hockey, and at some point some arrogance creeps into your game, and you want to play a different game. The first opportunity you have to play a rush game, which means not a lot of hitting, lots of chances both ways. Fans love it, goalies hate it, coaches hate it. So that came into our game, and then we got hurt. So we had guys that were, and then we got sick too. So we had some guys that were ill that were playing or just coming off illness. So all that came together, and we played 10 straight playoff teams. We're in the midst of that. So, but that's good. Truly, you really need to go through that. You need to lose some games when you're not playing well, so you can get hard at addressing the reason. And then you need to play really well and lose some games, so the next time that happens, it's not a shocker, that you're not that arrogant that you think you just play your game, you're going to win. That's just not true. The top, I mean, I always say 16, but then in the top 10, you're talking about 1 or 2 points separating like 10 teams. They're all really good. We're just one of them.
And there was so much hype around the Boston game Tuesday.
Yeah.
That people were like, "Oh well, you guys have 10 games left, 2 points back, a lot of room here to not only catch Boston but overtake them."
Yeah, and then
if that's what you want to do.
Well, the only reason we would want to finish in first place is because we can, and because it would be really hard to do based on our schedule and our injury. It would be a feat. I don't know if it changes anything. I mean, because what you don't know is if Tampa's going to catch Toronto, and if it does, then nothing changes, right? You play one of two ways. You don't make it, you play possibly Toronto in the first round, and you do, and Tampa catches them, you play Toronto in the first round, so it doesn't matter. But no, I think that was a highly unusual game, that Boston game. Game 72, two teams that are making the playoffs, two teams that can really get after each other, and they did. It was still really smart too. There were a couple of silly penalties, but it wasn't over the top. I thought that was a good sign for both teams. Not for the coaches. I would say the leadership in the room, that those guys could get themselves wound up for a game. At game 72, there's no prize for another 3 weeks. That was pretty good. And it felt good from the bench. So Doug had asked me, every once in a while there's a matchup or we'll talk about a game that had a playoff feel. And they never really do. You almost feel like it was close. But that was real. It was really well played. Well done.
Coach Sam Bennett mentioned when it comes to protecting leads late in the third period,
you
guys talked as a team about just cleaning up some of the mental mistakes. Is that really kind of the most important thing that you're looking for right now?
We've had 4 of them, and one of them was a problem. We weren't hard enough on a puck. The rest of them aren't. They're not, and none of those games is the other team in our end, where we're just batting it out, and we've gone 15 minutes where they're all over us. I mean, possibly the Philly game that we didn't lose the lead, that game was like that. They were on us pretty good for the last 30 minutes, right? But in the other games, the Ranger game is a puck that goes off one defenseman's foot to other defenseman's foot to the back of the net. I won't think about that again. The Boston one, I don't feel they're honest. I feel we're right. We got into penalty box. Can't do that. We took 2 penalties in the last 10 minutes of a game. We can't do that. That one we talked about. I'm not concerned about it. But I am aware of it, and we do deal with it. I'm just not going, how do we fix this? And 5 coaches are sitting around going, I don't know, why are we on our heels? We shouldn't be on our heels. We're not.
Clinch a playoff spot tonight with a win. Does that have any significance?
Yeah, it's hard to do, right? If you block out the teams that have just made it once, there's probably only 6 or 7 teams in the league that are in consecutive playoff appearances. We're one of them. I think there's probably only 3 teams ahead of us that I can think of. Like Boston would be, Carolina would be, possibly New York, right? But Vegas missed the playoffs a couple of years ago. Like, it's hard to stay in the playoffs. We're at 4, I would think, with another team, right? It's hard to do. When you're making the playoffs, you think, well, you should make the playoffs every year. If you just do it right, just play your game. It's hard to do.
Looking at the Islanders, they're in must-win territory right now.
Yeah.
With that, any extra emphasis on the start? Because obviously it's a team you probably don't want to give hope too early.
Yeah, I'd be worried about the start if I was the Florida Panthers tonight. So if you look at their schedule, they got destroyed in March. They lost 6 of 7, and it wasn't a lack of character or will. Nobody wins in the schedule that they have. They just got pounded. Now, the trade-off for them was they're also probably 3rd or 4th in the league for playing tired teams. So that's kind of how if there's a balance in the schedule, that's how they try to do it. It doesn't actually work for us, but and then we just came off the Boston game, and that's where my concern is. They just had 3 days off, and they'll look at this saying, we absolutely have to win this game. So we're going to get the single very best game out of the New York Islanders, and they're rested. We don't have to win this game to make the playoffs, and we're just coming off a heavy cost game in the middle of a heavy stretch. So it's going to be, there's lots to coach for, there's lots to play for, there's lots of interest coming to the rink. That idea that we're just trying to get through these games is absolutely false. Like, we dealt with the loss like we would have if it was a playoff loss, and we're wiring them up, and if they're not wired up tonight, then I'm pissed that I didn't get them wired up. Like, we're full on working right now. We're not trying to get through these games.
Stolarz tonight?
Yeah.
Any other lineup changes other than
Stolarz, Ekblad. Lorenzo's going to go into the middle, and Stenlund's going to go over to the right.
Stenlund's still taking draws?
Yeah, he'll take the right sides.
Yep.
I want Renzo on the left, but I want to see a game at Stenlund on the right to see if he can do it. If we got ourselves to a point in the playoffs that was something that was good for us, I'd like to do that.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, everybody.
Appreciate the